There is absolutely nothing going on. So have you ever thought about how there's all these festivals for all sorts of things? We have a broccoli festival, a garlic festival, arts and wine festival. How come we don't have any politics festivals? Maybe that's the election here process. Are vegetables more important than politicians?
Yes.
I like vegetables. Anyway, so I'm just going to just give you a really quick brief update of some of the highlights or the low points, depending on how you look at it, of what's going on in Sacramento. So last week was our California Association of Realtor meetings. We do those 3 times a year. Wednesday was lunch day. Did anybody in the room get to go? Yeah. I know there's a few of you there. Oh, that's pretty good. So we started, it was a pretty good turnout. We had about 20, I think they said 2,300 people there for Wednesday morning, which is really terrific. And we had some great speakers. We have Tony Atkinson, who's the Democrat leader and the Assembly Speaker. And she was followed by Kristen Olson. She's not one of the Olsen sisters, but she's cute enough, she could be, right? Anyway, for a politician. And she's from Modesto, and so she gave the Republican point of view. And so both of them were pretty interesting. And then from there, we went across the street to the Capitol and met with some of our legislators. But one of the, so then we go on with other meetings for us. Oh, then later that evening, we had a reception. We call ourselves the Realtor Party. You have the Democrats, the Republicans, the Tea Party, the Green Party, the Independent Party. We have the Realtor Party, and that's about taking care of real estate issues and private property rights. Well, one of the big controversial motions that we passed on the floor on Saturday morning, which took about an hour and a half of discussion, I think. It was normally they don't take that long, but it was having to do with Assembly Bill 1335, which is actually sponsored by Tony Atkins. And the problem with this is the 3rd shot they've taken at this, and what the whole bill is about is, everybody knows what document transfer fees are, right? We do those when we sell properties. Well, what they wanted to do, we got a carve out a couple years ago when we met with the speaker, well actually at the time it was Mark Desagnier, and he's been trying to get past this document transfer to this piece of legislation that when you record some documents, that they would up the charge to $75 a document.
No.
Yeah, it's huge. And so we were able to get new home transactions taken out of that piece. So now it has only to do with something that happens, so a non-sale type of recording, which would be like a refinance, maybe a cash-out refinance, maybe a mechanics lien, a child support, those type of things. So, and a refinance, currently it costs about $105, give or take, to do it for the document transfer, for the recording fees. Their proposal was going to make it $550 for a typical refinance. So anyway, so this piece of legislation, we've gone back and forth, we've got them down to where they will cap it at $225. I'm still against it. So anyway, but what this money's supposed to go for is affordable housing. That's what they say. Well, unfortunately, the affordable housing piece of it is really administration for affordable housing. It's not actually designed to build housing. So now so we've gone back and forth. Oh, and I don't know if you remember, they actually repackaged as $391 last time, and we were able to get it defeated. But that's the one that they did some dirty politics against us, and they linked it to a piece of legislation called Senate Bill 30. Senate Bill 30, do you remember the short sales and distressed property market? Well, Senate Bill 30 was our piece of legislation that would ease the burden on homeowners going through a short sale so they could recover quicker and get back into the marketplace within 2 years. And I think that's paid off. We were able to get it, we did get SB 30 passed, but we were able to get a different ruling from the IRS on a federal level, so that helped us. Anyway, in the meantime, they've come back to the Senate with this Assembly Bill 1335, take another shot at it. We all decided that, so we took a vote, and we passed a motion and said we would oppose this legislation again. But then we came back with 2 others, and I have mixed feelings about this. The second motion we passed had to do with that we would support, if amended, AB 1335, if they would actually clarify that 20% of the monies raised would go towards affording housability. The problem I have with this is housing affordability, while it's a big issue and I believe in it, it's a social problem, it's not a homeowner problem. So why would we burden individual homeowners in the state of California to have to cover for a problem for everybody? So shouldn't we find a way that we can tax everyone to take care of this problem? So we're looking for more of a holistic approach rather than a laser-targeted approach towards homeowners, increasing the cost of the transaction. So anyway, so that passed. And then the third piece of it, which I really like, has to do with sponsoring legislation to develop the California Department of Housing. You know, we have a huge economy. Why wouldn't we have a Department of Housing? It makes sense. And where we would have the BRE there, we would have some other mortgage, all these things would be under that one umbrella. But anyway, that's the one thing. Now, I have this expression I like, and that is, it's not the first time I said it, it's the first time I heard it. I'd like to think that I keep saying this enough that you'll hear it, and that you'll remember it, so when this thing comes up for votes, that you'll pay attention. And then I just want to conclude real quick by saying one last thing. For those of you that have ever used some of our forms, there's the State Reforms Committee had a meeting, and they're looking at changing the contingency for sale of buyer's property, the COP form, changing the request for repair, the RR form, change the seller response and buyer reply to a request for repair, RRRR, the pirate form. And then we have the seller multiple counteroffer, SMCO, and then finally the residential purchase agreement, RPA, specifically a buyer's right to continue to inspect after contingencies have been removed. So those are some of the changes that they are contemplating. And then finally, I just leave you another piece of legislation that's going to be coming up here. You should have heard about it. If you haven't, you should be hearing about it, and that has to do with service tax. They want to tax our services. This is not to be confused with income tax, but for the actual job that you do, you will be taxed on it. And the people that would be taxed on this is anybody that has over $100,000 of gross sales. How many have sold a house for $100,000? Or over? How many mobile homes do you know that you can sell, right? So this affects all of us. The only people that got carved out of this piece of legislation is healthcare and the teachers union. Other than that, we're all fair game. So keep an eye out for this legislation. It's unfair and we shouldn't have to deal with it. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, John, and he'll be back to speak to us on the 22nd. I'm not helping. It's a mess down there. All right, how about listings?